Hello, Win a Pageant family. Welcome back to the Pageant Jumpstart. I am so excited for this session, and I know that you are excited for this session too. The reason I know is because all week long, all of you guys have been asking me questions about like, how do we make the most of your title? You know, like this, obviously this is why we're here, because we want to win a pageant. And then what? You know, like some pageants, they have the red carpet rolled out for you. They tell you exactly what they're going to do. And you're like, here are your appearances that I've booked for you. But that is very rare. And you will find from our guest today, Nancy Liles, who is a two-time national title holder, two big pageants she's won all the way up the ranks, from Ms. Corporate America, which she brings a lot of epic experience about networking and all of the incredible things that she did there. In fact, let me share with you, she is an author of The Networking Diary. This is Nancy's book. It's an awesome, awesome book. It's a very easy read, and it's worth it because it gives you practical things that you can do to grow your network. And how many know your network is your net worth? So let's go ahead and bring her on. Hi, Nancy. Welcome back to the Jumpstart. I know Nancy has been in here. You girls have all seen her in the comments. So I know she feels like, you know, a household name already. So Nancy, we're so pumped to have you on. Thanks for joining.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, it's great to have you on our coaching team. You know, I had in my mind, I was sharing this with Trinity earlier. Trinity and Nicole were also in my mind of like, who would be my dream coaches to have on the Win a Pageant coaching team? And you are among them. And you know, it's really because of the breadth of experience that you bring from a different perspective, you know, the pageants that you have been a part of, and now your current title as Mrs. Petite USA. Such a beautiful, beautiful, just, you know, all of the things that you have accomplished in your world. And I know you're going to be able to have a chance to share a lot of them with us today. It's just awesome having you on the coaching team.
This is amazing. I remember sitting as a student and I did your inner circle, and now coming here is just a dream come true. So hello to all the ladies. It has been so much fun in the Jumpstart. People are so positive and the comments are so friendly, and it's just one big pageant family in your Jumpstart. So thank you for hosting that.
Yes, yeah, my pleasure. So tell me a little bit. Let's start first, if you would share about your experience, because you came to the inner circle with a lot of pageant experience already under your belt. You'd been competing for many years already. You'd already held the Ms. Corporate America title. You had already published your book. So I'm curious to hear from you, when you joined the inner circle, you know, what was going through your mind? What were you really looking for from a coaching perspective? What were you looking for?
This was my first time going from Ms. to Mrs. And I felt like there was something that I had to learn new. And it is a big transition. Even though my message about encouraging entrepreneurship has been the same the last, 10 years, you grow from that brand. And I wasn't sure exactly how to pivot and to bring it into a new stage, into a new set of judges. So that's why I went into it. And then when you've been out of the game for 10 years and have two babies and get married, you're like, wait, can I still do this pageant thing? So with your paperwork review, I did that. And then just a camaraderie around the girls. I know when we did the group trainings, to hear questions from other contestants, you learn from the questions from the other ladies too. So you're not training alone. You get to kind of do group training, because I know I do group training with my boot camp for workout, and I would say to myself, I would never do this by myself. This is really hard. But as a group in the gym, I feel like I'm more motivated. So same with pageant training. I just like that group training to get me motivated and paying attention to the lesson and growing from there.
Yeah, it's so obvious too with your success, like looking at all the things you've achieved. I can tell that you are the kind of person that says, you know what, I'm going to invest in my success. And I see that throughout your story, and especially like even coming up through corporate, you know, there were so many things that you had to invest in, an MBA and, you know, a DePaul, which is not cheap, you know, like there's things like this that I can see that you've invested along the way, and clearly it paid off after winning your title. I know when you sent me this book, your note in here says your state title in the petite system. And so it's so fun to then have worked with you to send you off to nationals at
Yes.
that level. It's just such a cool experience. What has that been like for you, investing in yourself? Has that been something that was just always an easy thing to do, always a part of your life? Or was there a moment in your life where you're like, I've never, because that happened for me. I never had really, really invested in myself. And then all of a sudden it clicked and I realized, oh, that's how people get ahead. And seeing others around me, that's what alerted me to the fact that that's how people were. You said earlier that there's no uncoached winner. That it's like they all have. So tell me your story about that. What's that been like for you?
Well, my parents came here as refugees, and my dad only has a sixth grade education. So for me to invest beyond college into an MBA and into pageantry, there wasn't a lot of support in that area with my parents because they just didn't understand. But I know anytime I've invested in education or coaching, especially with winning a pageant, I can see improvement. And the confidence that you get from the training is bar none. I remember showing up at Petite and I just felt ready. And you can't get that overnight. I will say it probably took me 500 days of training because with a 3 and a 4 year old being married and owning a hair salon, I wanted to be shown how to do it. I didn't want to keep Googling YouTube videos and articles to try to piece together my training. I wanted that direct line of how to train for my next national pageant. So it's definitely paid off. Obviously, with this win, but with all the connections I made along the way getting there, because I think it was yesterday we talked about how you don't just go do a pageant and win and that's it. It's the entire journey. And I've been at this, gosh, for 25 years now. And all the friendships I've made throughout the year has been fantastic.
Yeah. You're so excellent at networking, and I can't wait to share some of these tips that you're going to share with us with the audience because you have such a brilliant mind for connecting people. And I've seen this in my work with you one on one and also in the inner circle and watching that, I it's crazy when you're like, "Oh, actually, this person who I met," and then you share like you met someone like 5 years ago, or like, "Oh, who I went to grad school with," or "Oh, who," and I'm like, "Wow, she's still in touch with these people." Like that is absolutely incredible. So can we start with sharing some of those tips? Maybe start with just your first tip for how you can make the absolute most of your pageant title.
Yeah. So a pageant, if you do win, it's 1 year. It's just 1 year. But along the way, you will make contacts. And I will tell you, with my last pageant, which was in 2011, I'm still best friends with my director. I don't think there's ever been a week that we don't text each other or at least call or email each other. And that friendship is never going to go away. And keeping in touch with your sponsors, the people who've helped you along the way with coaching, your hair, your makeup, these are just amazing, genuine friendships that you can always lean on your next journey, or just whenever you have questions, or even when they need help, you're able to bring your gifts to the table. And before we talked today, I said what was on my heart is that we're given these titles and these opportunities to compete, and these titles are gifts. So to me, the heart of networking is taking these gifts that we've been given and being good stewards of it and seeing how we can share it with others. And the more you get to share your title, the more you get to share your crown and your sash and your gifts, the more fulfillment you're getting in your reign. So it's not about just entering a pageant, winning. It's about the entire journey of all the people you get to inspire to the competition and beyond.
That's something that I think is so beautiful. It's true that there is that need for commitment, and when you do, you receive this beautiful gift that now you kind of have this level of responsibility to inspire and to share with others. Something you said just now was that you remain in touch with former pageant directors. And I'm curious because, personally for me, I struggle with staying in touch with people. And it's not because like I have no excuse like, oh, it's because I meet so many people, like you have met so many people. Think about as a national title holder, how many people you meet from your appearances and from the directing staff and just the competition itself, and from all the experience that you've done along the way, you have met all of these people. And what do you do to stay in touch with them? Like, how do you cultivate and nurture those relationships in order to stay in front of them? What's your strategy for that? Or if you have one?
It's pretty clear because when you win a title, you're going to be pulled in different directions. I can't tell you how many walks I've been invited on or charities, which they're all great. But when you have that legacy project or that focus that you have with your platform, you're going to be able to pick and choose how you choose where you put your gift. So when I go back to my network of people, mine is encouraging entrepreneurship. So I go back to my contacts with, hey, I've been working on this or something I can help you with, because pageant directors are entrepreneurs. So there might be something I've learned along the way that I could share with them. But it's in the mindset of, well, I have this one thing that I'm pretty good at. So for me, it's business building. So I'll just go through my rotary in my mind to say, is there anyone that I could reach out and help or just touch base to see how they're doing with their lives and with their businesses? So just keeping it focused. So girls who know me know that I love just business talk. So that's where I focus on.
That's cool. What's brilliant about what you're saying is that you are showing up to offer. And in Win a Pageant, we always talk about give, 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 then ask. And so when you are reaching out to your contacts, you're not asking, you're giving. You're saying, how can I help you? And you're probably, and I know this from personal experience, that you've connected me to people that have like, hey, this person needs this thing and you offer this thing. How about you guys connect? And it's like so beautiful how you are meeting people's needs through your own skill set. And as you mentioned, business being something that that's such a massive skill set that you've developed, that you've invested in, that you've built through your MBA, through Sweet Tea Salon, and the growth that the salon has experienced, and then all of the work that you're doing to give back. Could you share the story that you shared with me before about how a former contact of yours connected you to the experience to do an international talk to the girls in Jamaica? I just love this story. I think this is just full circle. Could you share that story?
So my Miss Corporate America director contacted this person, Diane, and she asked me to come on her podcast. So it's a faith-based podcast that was for business, entrepreneurship. And after that, she said, I have this young entrepreneur camp. I think it was ages 6 to 10. Would you be able to come and do a presentation for these young children about entrepreneurship? And at that time, I was using my legacy project, the Crown Method, which is what I built through your program for Mrs. Petit. I said, how can I spin this legacy project to make it age appropriate for ages 6 to 10? And it was amazing. I got to show up on Zoom, and these children are from Jamaica, and they were so engaged. And I don't know what kind of seed we planted, but all I know is that they were so engaged and they were able to answer the questions at the end. So we did the acronym CROWN, and each of the letters stood with something about character. So the first was about courage, then respect, ownership, having a winning mindset, and of course, networking. And they were just so engaged. But again, that was stemming back from my relationship with my director 10 years ago to meet with this new podcaster and to get in front of kids in Jamaica for entrepreneurship. I mean, how cool is that, right?
Right, it is. And what a beautiful thing, over this last year is when you also launched your podcast. And so it's so cool to just see that those steps that you've taken by building your new legacy project, the Crown Method, and then launching the podcast in order to connect with other business owners to further like elaborate. Like you said, it's like that next level of legacy project, which it really in a Mrs. Pageant system, as you mentioned, transitioning from Ms. to Mrs., the Mrs. Pageant system is so competitive with community service, as many people call it, or platform, that a legacy project really is that big domino that's necessary in order to do exactly what you're saying, to book your own appearances, to book those opportunities to connect with other people, and to showcase like, hey, I've got a thing that I can bring to the world if given this title. And you've done that so beautifully with the Crown Method, with your podcast, with this book that you created so long ago. Can you share a little bit about because you tell me a bit about how this book came about and how you have leveraged this book, like what you have used this for since then.
Yes. So when people think you make money off books, I try to encourage them to know that it's a glorified business card, and it's helped me a lot in this way. I wrote it because when I was serving as a vice president of my MBA association at DePaul, a lot of people came up to me and asked me, how do you network? So when you Google, how do you network, it would say shake hands, which we really can't do as much anymore, make eye contact. But I took the format of Anne Frank's diary and in my mind married it with the 7 habits of highly effective people to come up with my own networking diary to capture real life stories about my failures in networking. But with that glorified business card, I was able to enter it into MBA Association conferences. So I got to speak at the Reaching Out MBA conference, the Black MBA Association, the Asian MBA. So it's important to have your focus because, again, my legacy project, I knew my target market was for women who wanted to start businesses. So I was able to knock on the doors of like Business Week or Wall Street Journal and say, hey, do you think we could do some coverage on this to help women increase their networking skills? So it's very focused. Again, we go back to saying when you win, it's 1 year. So you can't be pulled in 10 different directions. Your legacy project to me is a blueprint of how you're going to spend your time. And especially now being a mom and a wife, I have to choose where I put my resources carefully and with clarity. So it's not just all over the place, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I love what you just said there about how so often people think that, oh, the only reason to publish a book is if you want to make money on the book. But that is so rare that people make money on books that they publish. Instead, what it's really beneficial for is exactly as you used it. You could say, hey, I'm an author. I actually wrote the book on networking. So, how about you invite me to speak at your next conference, And so how many speaking engagements were you able to book as a result of sending your book and inviting yourself and kind of like putting yourself out there really to speak? About how many would you say that you booked?
Honestly, I have lost count through the years. It's on my resume somewhere, but as far as a specific number, I do know that I did fly to California. I did fly to Chicago, having the opportunity to be at national platform even in North Carolina. So I will say that getting into the national platform has been better with the national pageant title because when you say you're a America or USA something, people are going to listen out. They're going to say, what's that all about, right? So like you had said about being a champion at the beginning of this jumpstart, people do pay attention when you have a national title and it opens up so many doors that you might have never known. But if you are prepared with that solid legacy project, you're in position that when that door does open, you're ready to walk through it with your book or with your podcast or whatever your heart decides to develop with your platform.
Yeah, that's great. That's something just for those that are maybe lost, like legacy project. She keeps talking about this. What the heck even is that? So this is something that I teach in the game plan that is a part of the academy. And so what we basically are doing with the legacy project is it is kind of like a platform, but it's something that you design. It's an actual project that you build yourself that then you can leverage to use at a big level. So it's not something that's like, oh, I do a workshop or I did a workshop once in my local community. We want to scale it so that it's something that you can market. So what Nancy's saying here is it needs to be something that can go national. So like a book, a podcast, I've had clients that have created like chapters of organizations that they've positioned like all over the US or anywhere else, online downloadable guides that can guide people through a certain thing. I've had people partner with like the Home Depot to bring gardening supplies to children, partnering with the Crayola Crayon Factory to bring crayons and art supplies into schools when they were trying to get rid of that. So a legacy project is like this unique thing that you create. And so Nancy has created this epic legacy project. First, she wrote the book. That was kind of this first thing that you were able to create, to design, to get those appearances with your title. And then it's not just like, I love what you said about when you have that USA or America in your title, that's a big deal. People all of a sudden perk up to like, oh, wow, this person is a somebody. But if you are a somebody, first of all, to get to that level, you have to have done something, right? No one's operating at that level and they don't have a legacy project. They've done it at some degree. They've had to, because that's how you get those big titles. They judges and just everybody wants to know you've done something in your life, right? But then on top of that, you were able to speak to and get flown out to, here and there and here and there, because you had this methodology that you designed. You had the book, you had the podcast, you had the things in place to be able to market yourself. And so by having those already in place, it makes it so much easier to market yourself. So far, if anyone's taking notes, so far we've got staying in touch with your old contacts and how important that is. And Nancy mentioned that she does it by offering to give first. Like she would say, hey, how can I help you? I notice you're doing this new thing. How can I help you? So reaching out to people, staying in touch. The second is to use your legacy project, like she used her book, as a business card. So like you're giving this thing to somebody, they learn so much about you, much more with just the book than they would with your business card, right? So now it's like a thing that they're like, oh, I want to actually keep this, this is good stuff. So using that as a business card. Did you also use that to get book appearances, like for, news stations or media and things like that? Can you tell me, like, how did that work out?
Yeah, so one time I was here at a major station and our director had reached out about this book. So we got to go on the station live. And other times, gosh, let me think about this. Yes, the newspaper, gosh, long time ago. I'm dating myself now. But getting on television, newspaper, and now it's mainly podcasting. And I know another time I was asked to be one of the speakers at the North Carolina Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So my undergraduate degree was in Spanish, and I'm so passionate about speaking Spanish. And of course, I love business. So because of this book and because of my title, it kind of connected to other people in other arenas. I would have never thought in a million years I would be asked to speak at a North Carolina Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. But it was such an honor. That day actually was about diversity. And I was able to stand up and do a little spiel about diversity at the Chamber of Commerce. So opportunities just come. But my point is being ready. Being ready takes a lot of time. I mean, just because you have a book, you still have to position it. Just because you have a podcast, you still have to have a plan of how you're going to use that tool.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's good. And spoken like a true entrepreneur, because I know like many people think that, oh, just because I have da 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 da, then naturally they're going to want to choose me. And it's not the case. Like we have to actually actively leverage the things that we've been given, that we've created. We have to learn how to leverage those things, how to communicate it, how to tell other people that this is, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm all over the place. We've got to really hone in. This goes back to what we talked about earlier in the week, which is kind of curating. What do you want to be known for? And I know, Nancy, you are brilliant with branding. And I know you're passionate about branding being something that's really important. And that's like curating your museum, right? What are we taking out of here so that what's left is a solid brand, and you've done that so well, Nancy, for yourself and for others that you have helped along the way as entrepreneurs and in pageantry, to help people see what do they stand for and what are they all about, and I just think your example is brilliant, that you are, what you stand for is entrepreneurship. What you stand for is that, living the American dream. And it's so brilliant that you've been able to tie all of those things together to present what you have been able to up to this point. So that's incredible. Can you speak to, because when we were talking last week in preparation for this talk, one of the things that you mentioned that I just think is so cool is how you have actively gotten together with some of the other title holders in your local area, and particularly those who are operating at a high level, right? Other national title holders. Can you talk about what that experience is? Because I think there might be a misconception for people who don't really know someone like you know, like if you get to know Nancy, you learn very quickly she is super down to earth. She really actually does want the best for other people. And it's sometimes hard to believe because when we see somebody come up through the ranks of pageantry, especially when we've competed against them, sometimes we feel like, but is this girl really real or is she fake? Is this, you know, but I think that it's a testament that as you climb to the top, you actually find people who are also personally developed and who have also put in the work and who are also like elevated to a different level. So can you share what has your experience been like meeting other title holders at the national level too?
Last year, right before the shutdown, I helped judge the Mrs. Aya Festival pageant here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And the wife of our head judge ended up winning Miss Senior World 60s. And I could not believe it because A, I didn't know there was a Senior World 60s, and B, she had won after I had won my national pageant. So having this camaraderie, I feel like I just got the key to a fun executive club to play in, right? So right away, I actually got her on my podcast because I wanted to capture that excitement right after she got off the stage. So we connected that way. Then, since last year, so many North Carolinian girls have won their pageant, Miss Cosmos and other pageants that I've been learning about. And it is just so fun to meet other national title holders, either in person or online, because we have this understanding that it did not come overnight and it's fun, and that we have this camaraderie where if we get stuck on something, trying to reach out to somebody, we have each other's backs because we are the reigning title holders. And my first runner up also just won her pageant in another system. So she also is my buddy in the pageant world. And it's just so fun to be in that club where you say, I know you put in that work. I don't know what your strategy was, but I know you put in the work and it is just fun. I can't explain any other way that it is just fun to be a national title holder and meeting other national title holders.
Yes, yeah. And that what you said of like, I feel like I got this executive key to the playroom, you know? It's like, and it's so true that as soon as you get
Mhm.
that national title, all of a sudden you have to appear that you belong. You got to act like you belong. You got to actually belong. You have to behave as though you belong. You've got to commit as though you belong. And then you get in. And now that you're in, you look around and you're like, wow, all these other women have also committed to this. They've also invested time, energy, money into their advancement. They've also done incredible things within their community. They've also stayed in touch with their contacts. It's like all of that stuff, then you realize at this level that you're at, so are these other women. And so you like speak a different language, I guess, that is this language of personal development, this language of, yeah, I've been in the trenches and I made it to the top, and it's fun. It's like cool that you've done that. And it's great to think that you're also meeting all these other gals from your state, that they're right there. Like how awesome. Yeah. And I don't want everybody to overlook what you said, that you judged a pageant and that the another a fellow judge on your panel, the connection was his wife. And when Nancy first told me this story, I was like, it wasn't even the judge that like, oh, of course the person sitting next to you, but she was able to like network her way to like meet all the other people that those people knew. Like leave it to Nancy to just like meet everyone in the room, right? It's like that type of mindset to say there are people in this room that have something to offer and that could benefit from something I have to offer. And I think that that's just when we show up like that and we're like, hey, how can we help each other? And when every room, even metaphorical rooms that you enter, you do that, Nancy. Like it's cool to watch you do that. How do you balance making appearances and networking while being a wife and being a mom, especially during a pandemic when you have a family to raise and she feels like she's unable to promote her title? So what suggestions would you give to her in this current situation with all these things that she's balancing in today's world?
I actually have a huge annual calendar in my office. So, quarterly planning, so some of your non negotiables, such as a breast cancer walk or Red Cross event or whatever it may be in your platform. So, you have your non negotiables there. Then you break it down into your quarterly and your monthly, then your weekly. So, for example, this week, I knew I had to be here today, and it was very important that I showed up today. But like I told you before we got on, I have children who have fevers, and we originally my plan was I had it set up in my office at home, but I had to pack it up and come to a new area, my mother-in-law's house, to make this happen. So you have to realize that things are going to go wrong. Your children will get sick. But if you can be a master problem solver and have plans A, B, and C set up, then you can accomplish more. But you still have to make yourself a priority. Drinking water, going to the bathroom, getting your sleep in, working out. So you have to make that a priority. Once you have slept well, got enough water, and you feel good, then you can go to your calendar and start planning. But don't overdo it. I know when I was in grad school, I only allowed myself one extra thing a day. That was on top of homework and work. So I was allowed maybe one networking event or one going out with friends thing a day, but just do a little as you can. You can't go from zero to hero with your schedule, but do what's important, but definitely take care of yourself, because if you're not healthy, you can't do anything.
Wow, that's great advice about scheduling and prioritizing too. And then I
Mhm.
also heard flexibility, because it's so true that
Oh, yeah.
like we and you even said this earlier that it comes down to, like, in your book you share your mistakes in networking, and we've been saying all week long that experience does not come from when everything goes right. Experience comes from when things go wrong. And when things go wrong and you allow it to just sabotage your whole life, and then you just drop the balls at every left and right, you didn't actually gain experience. When things go wrong and then you create a new plan, you say, okay, so instead I'm going to go to my mother-in-law's house and my kids are going to be taken care of and we're okay. We're going to make this happen, instead of falling all apart and saying, like, I'm not going to be able to do this after all. Like, you have to learn how to adjust. And that's where experience comes. Now, you've been doing this for 25 years. So you have all of those years of experience of things going wrong and learning how to then adapt. So then it's easier to tell someone else, oh, yeah, here's what to do, to give those types of ideas. And we can borrow experience from other people. Like, you don't have to have the things go wrong to you. Obviously, we don't, that's not what we want. We don't want everyone to gain experience from screwing everything up. Instead, we want to learn from what do other people, like, what's gone wrong and how did they fix it, And so that's a perfect example what you're describing there about saying, hey, first, don't overbook yourself, allow yourself whatever it is. I love that example of, like, I'm going to allow myself one thing every day. And this is how I feel right now with my daughter being young. I'm like, one thing every week. I tell my husband, I'm like, babe, we can only commit to one social event a week because it takes so much work to, like, pump extra and then, like, pack all of her stuff and plan to be out for the day and, like, all this. I'm like, it's too soon. I can only plan one a week. So I'm like doing this strategy too of, like, just what can we handle. Um,
Yeah.
Erin, I also want to just address, because she's saying, like, when you can't promote your title a lot. And I think that it's important to recognize that this is sort of the mindset that a lot of women have, that I think is a limiting belief. And the idea is that when a lot of women, and it would be interesting for you to speak to this too, Nancy, having won during this time of, being a title holder in 2020, and then now what are we doing now? And I think that there's a limiting belief because most pageant women believe that the only way to promote their title is to go to parades and a walk and all of their community events. But what we are finding instead is that for the last 10 years, as the rise of the influencer has happened across social media, people are not just wanting to, choose the title holder that's just good in her local community. We're really looking for people who are able to connect with somebody on the internet and to connect with people over their social media channels and stuff. What has it been like for you? How have you been able to promote even your state title and now your national title, while things have been shut down and the world looks a little bit differently now?
So it goes back to your focus. What are you trying to do? So my focus is encouraging entrepreneurship. So of course, in the Facebook world, I'm going to join women entrepreneur groups. And for you with your title, whatever your focus is, you can find just simply searching in Facebook groups names that might be similar to where your interest is and join them. And you can ask them, the administrator, you can ask them, do you mind if I do a presentation here one day to help your audience? So it's a matter of how may I help you? So it's not the mindset of, look at me, I have a crown and a sash. It's the mentality of, how can I help you with what I've done in my project and the work I've done? I'd like to share this with your audience to help them transform or to help them learn something or to help them get a resource or a guide. So if you can start thinking about, okay, what am I trying to do with my title? What is my main goal? And who are the people that want to hear what I'm trying to do? And then locate them. They're everywhere: Instagram, Facebook. You can tell people. I know even people who have never been in pageantry, I've told people my goals, and those people have gone out and connected me to other resources and television appearances and newspaper and magazines. So just keep telling people what you're trying to do and how you can help them. And you can get those appearances with your title, especially now with virtual. I mean, gosh, you could do a food drive, right? You can do a food drive, or you can do a coat drive. There's a one lady I saw, she said, Jesus Souls Win for the Soul. It's a shoe drive. She had all these people send her shoes, and she took a picture of all these shoes that she was donating to her organization. So the power of the internet is important, but it starts with your clarity and what you're trying to do with your title.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. It's like that brand, that's what we teach in the academy is like, you got to know your brand, because once you know your brand, everything can flow from it. And so often people don't ever think about that. They don't, or they think about it too late. And so they don't have a legacy project that guides what all they're doing. Right. And when you do, like, I love what you said, you're like, you got to know, who am I helping? Like, who is this for? What, and not just like, oh, I'm going to help everybody and do every community event. No, you've got an audience of people who actually need to hear what you have to share. And so those are the people that you want to go find. And I heard you say, they're everywhere. And it's true. They are. They are everywhere. Like, that's the kind of thing we got to go searching for them. We got to find them. We got to find them on Instagram or wherever it
Mhm.
is that these people are. And then that's your market. That it really is where you serve. And I love Octavia's putting here, hashtag clarity. Like, yes, it's so true. And what we know is that action comes before clarity. You got to take action on things in order to discover. Like, a lot of people are out there, well, I just wish I knew. I just wish I knew. We kind of got to do stuff. You got to do stuff to figure out what is your audience. What are the areas? How did you, Nancy, how did you land on knowing that you wanted to serve entrepreneurs, that was the vision that you had? What got you there?
It was actually a surprise because my master's was in human resources. So I had this vision I was going to be this VP of human resources in a Fortune 500. But when I was called back to Raleigh from Chicago and took over my mom's hair salon and rebranded it, I said, okay, so this thing is surviving. We are growing. Now we're 11 years in. It wasn't until I went into the Win a Pageant Inner Circle where we had to share our story. I said, story? What's a story? And so I got to actually take the chance to think about where my passion comes from. So because of Win a Pageant, I got to know that, oh, it's because we came to the United States as refugees. My dad came with a sixth grade education. My mom worked in a factory. We overcame poverty. My parents still don't read, hardly speak English. And to overcome all that and to be able to succeed through entrepreneurship, through your paperwork. I don't even remember doing my paperwork, but the very last sentence, it was about something about, because I helped my parents achieve their American dream, my purpose is to help others achieve their American dream too, no matter what their background. So it was a lot of clarity going through the program with the paperwork, but it took time because it was right in front of me this whole time. But just getting that story out, but clearly in my mind, even though other people could have told me this story.
Yeah, and that's so true. It's the idea of you are in the jar, you can't read the label. You need to have someone else outside of there say, "Hey, these are the things I see in you. That's what I remember. Specifically remember this about you. Like you all of a sudden you were showing like, "Oh, well this refugee and then this and we built this business and that business and then this happened." And I'm like, "Wow, you literally are like this is so obvious to me." But it's not obvious when it's you because you're like you lived all these many years in your own life. These are just pieces of who you are that have brought you to where you are now, so it really does take someone else to kind of look into that. And Nicole asked this question too, like, how do you clarify, your title when you're doing so much? How do you find a group that needs you? And I really think it comes back to knowing your brand, which someone else often, in most cases, people that have the most clear brand, somebody else has looked at them and said, here's what I think your brand is. A brand is not like you're not making up your brand, you're living it. And your brand is what other people are describing about you. What was the process for you in rebranding the Sweet Tea Salon? Can you talk a little bit about branding as it applied to your business?
So the first 10 years, it was called Classy Cuts. My mom, it was her American dream. This is what she knew. She had come from another chain salon, so that's what she wanted. When I came back, I said, yeah, no. I saw that there were chain salons and they were very high-end salons. And I said, what can I do to make this the Cracker Barrel of hair salons, right? With the country southern feel, which is how I grew up. Y'all might see me the way I am, but I grew up backwoods country. So I wanted to get that brand into it. But with that, I guess, upscale finish, because we do use the best hair products with, vegan hairsprays or whatnot, but always wanting to get that Southern hospitality. So we came up with the mission statement, sharing God's love through service and beauty, where all are welcome. But when you come in, you get a glass of sweet tea if you'd like, and it's very cozy. So it's like this down home Southern hospitality place with very nice finish when you leave as a client. So that was my vision. And Sweet Tea, just the letter T Salon, had to happen because Sweet Tea, TEA Salon, was already taken on the internet. So the minute I took Sweet Tea Salon, I bought the domain, did the hashtagging, the Instagram. I didn't know how to use Instagram at that time when I got it, but thank goodness I snagged it because now we're able to leverage all the social media, especially during this pandemic, to grow our audience.
So smart. And there you are taking action on a thing before you even knew how to use it. You're like, I'm grabbing this anyway, because one day I might need this thing.
Right.
So brilliant, so smart. The game plan totally makes you focus on your true why. And that's so true. That's something that, of years and years and years, women start to build out all the great things that they're doing. And especially Mrs. contestants, I think there's this pressure to just do all the things and to kind of spread yourself a little too thin, and in the effort of like, oh, I'm just going to serve my entire community. But what really is the key is to actually focus and go deep in one area, because then you're able to speak confidently about that one thing. And Rox mentioned, like, isn't your brand established through your passions and the things that you do well? I would say yes. And what Nancy just shared is, what is the experience you want others to have? And that's how she designed Sweet Tea Salon was, I want to stand out in the marketplace. What are these other salons? And there's a difference between the chain salons and the boutique salons, and I want to stand out. And so what's the feeling I want to give people when they step into my salon? And she's talked about Southern hospitality, and there's this whole list of things, right? And then when people walk in, they're like, this is so hospitable, and wow, it feels like some Southern charm over here. And now they're saying all the things that become the real brand, right? So that's such a perfect example. I love that. I want to ask you about one of the things that I know is on your heart is your passion to serve what you describe as the next generation of queens coming up behind you. And I see that in how many people you've invited into the Jumpstart. Like, you're like, girls, like, here's what you need, and you're able to really like be there for these women and answer questions, and you make yourself available. And So would you be able to just share a little bit about that, the power to serve that the title can give you and how you've managed that?
Right. So when you become the queen of an organization, you have this huge responsibility to be the ultimate customer service provider because sometimes people don't want to come to you. They might be nervous or it might be their first pageant. And in our case with USA Petite, they there are a lot of new pageant girls and it's up to us as queens to say hello, I see you over there, would you like to come to my club? Right, so just being that inviting person. And not only do you get to meet these women, but when you see them at the pageant in real life, it is so fun to already know these women. Because I think sometimes with pageantry people say, oh, don't look at other girls. I have a different approach with that. I think everybody can have their own legacy project and have their own purpose and still be in the same room. And I will tell you, this year in March, it was March 24th, 27th, when we went to Petite USA, it was almost like we already knew each other. We knew each other's stories. We knew how many people had children. And we just came up to each other and said, oh my gosh, it's finally good to meet you. And it wasn't like, oh, hi, my name is such and such. So keep that going. Keep the camaraderie going, not only as a queen to help your next generation of queens, but even beyond, because now with my other pageant, Miss Corporate America, like I am still friends with all those women. And as we build our legacy projects and work with each other, it just doesn't stop. So again, pageant title and reign is 1 year, but friendships and relationships are a lifetime. So don't overlook that.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. We've got about four, maybe five great questions and about 10 minutes to cover them. So let's do this. Gloria is asking, how do you build the confidence to network?
So in my crown method, C is actually for confidence. For my method, it's that my confidence lies in God's love for me. Because you might have a plan and you might go out and network, and it might not go the way you thought. And for example, when I first started Sweet Tea Salon, I would be giving out flyers, and somebody scribbled on my brand new logo and said that nobody was going to come here. And it hurt my feelings. However, because I know God first loved me, that is where I put my confidence in. And the truth is, every day when I drive to work, I say, Lord, just tell me what to do, where to serve. And that is how I approach networking too, is my confidence is in God's love and he's going to tell me where to go. So it might be a bad situation, like somebody scribbling on your wonderful idea, but you know what? You're still loved and you still have other people you can serve. So you might not be for everybody, but you're for somebody.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Nicole's asking, what is the best way to reach out to other people for networking? You've got a strategy for us there?
Yeah, it depends. Some people are very, very busy. And again, you have to have a purpose. So just to connect, sometimes it's okay just to connect, adding a friend, but if you literally want to talk to them, some people might have an assistant. So you have to get through the assistant to get in their calendar. But you can follow some of the things that they do. A lot of the big coaches and celebrities now, they have Clubhouse. You can get in their Clubhouse. So there's different ways now. It's not just going to an event and seeing them in person. There's so many virtual things, Instagram, Facebook, but have a purpose. I mean, don't just go to somebody and say, hey, can we talk? I mean, what is it about? Tell them, hey, I have this. Is it okay that we connect for 5 minutes one day? So maybe ask, but always have a plan in place of why you're contacting them.
Yeah, that's good. Great advice. I love this. Okay, so pageant advice. Jennifer is asking, what's your quick advice on how to stand out? So she says, I seem to get feedback that I don't stand out. This is in her pageant competition. She says the judges are saying like, oh, we just didn't remember you. You didn't really stand out. What advice would you give to Jennifer or someone like her?
So with interview and on stage, there was something that I practiced. I'm not sure this is the answer, but I practiced the art of essence. So that's even before they see you, before the spotlight comes on you. You just have this essence, and it takes practice, but you can practice in the mirror, you can practice in front of people, but it's the art of essence and it comes from within. And having those mantras, if you work with a coach, you can have those mantras ready. I know my mantra when I went into the interview room was, hey, Nancy, you're going to go in, you're going to meet 5 new sweet tea salon clients, because I knew that's where I was the most confident and the most real. So working on the mantras and working on your essence, but I truly believe that when you have that clarity and your blueprint, AKA your legacy project, that's going to be the root of your confidence. Because when I went into my pageant, I knew I had a plan. And that plan gave me the confidence to have the essence to get in front of the judges and, quite frankly, stand out.
Um, that's great. And I think that also you chose a system that was so perfect for you. You know, like your system really, both of those systems that you worked your way up to the top in, both of them really honored the things that you already stand for. You know, like you're a perfect shining I guess example of what they are really looking for in a title holder. So I believe it even starts at which pageant you choose, and then to, like you said, go deep in knowing your legacy project and having built it out really to like a massive extreme. So that's great. Good, cool. What's your top tip for interview at nationals to stand out and be authentic? What's a good tip?
It depends on how many minutes you have. So with Petite USA, it was only 4 minutes. So you, like you said, curated information. You can't go in there. Okay, as a missus, we've done a lot. We've been married, we have kids, we've had probably 5 careers by now. You can't bring all of that into the room. It's going to be like, ah. So having a curated plan going into the room and being authentic is going to happen. So just taking the time to figure out what is it in my long biography that I want to bring to the judges.
Great. That's good. Yeah, to just hone in, hone in, hone in. It's like get rid of all the extra stuff. Yeah. How do you get rid of disbeliefs and doubts? So she's saying like sometimes it takes her so long to start her plan. She's got all so long that then her disbelief of does one door ever finally going to open for her to actually start? So how could she get rid of her disbelief and doubts? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Well, it's kind of, well, my mother in law is actually gardening out there. So I'm going to use this. When you water a seed, you water it for a very, very long time. And I call it waterless seeding, right? So you're going to water it, and you have a position in the correct soil, but it's going to take a long time for you to water something and put it in the right environment for it to grow. So I wouldn't stop doing that, but I would also have the professionals around where you can ask them, am I putting the right amount of water in? Am I putting in the right environment? So it takes time. Nothing is overnight. I mean, you see what Alicia's done and I've done. It did not happen overnight. It took years. So just keep at it.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. And I think what you're saying there is this concept of when we surround ourselves with people, we're not only relying on our own motivation, we're surrounded by a network of other people who are also chasing something down. And when you have that collective energy, you are almost caught up in the tide and it's like you're just going to naturally move forward faster by especially by getting your questions answered right away. I know that's in the academy, that's one of the things that we built for having those office hours every single week so that when those questions come up, when you get stuck or when you're losing motivation, you can just get that hit that you need real quick so that you will keep going. And it's so, we go through experiences like this, and this is a great week. And a lot of people are going to be so motivated at the end of this, and you're going to have the cool visions and ideas. And then some people are going to go, wah, 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 and it's going to be like 4 weeks from now, you're going to be in the same place you are right now because you're not saying, hey, let me get in good soil. Let me put my vision out there. Let me, take action on this stuff, and that action is what leads ultimately to clarity. So, did winning your national title help your business increase?
It has. So in this way, well, with Miss Corporate America, I got to use the title and do the ribbon cutting with Mrs. Black, North Carolina. So we had literally a queen's appearance with opening that business. And now through the years, so this is how it's helped me with receiving the coaching I've received. I've been able to take a lot of those skills and pour it into my employees to help build their confidence and to build their communication skills. So it's almost like your cup overflows when you win and you take all those gifts and you pour it into other people. I had coaching clients over the summer for business and watching them grow in their self-esteem and their confidence in their business. So not only has it helped my business with my employees, but it's helped many other women's businesses too. So that to me is the most exciting part, is the multiplying of it.
That's cool. And Deanna, that question came from Deanna, who is actually going to be sharing her business wins. She just joined the academy. She's a former Inner Circle member. And she actually has had a lot of success. And so it's kind of cool. The two of you are going to be like right on each other. Like you're going to see so much similarities between the two of you, I think, because of what she's able to offer. So cool. So how do you fill your cup to ensure you pour from a full cup in order to serve others? What do you do?
I am surrounded, first of all, by a team of coaches. I know with the pageant prep, there are coaches there, but even in life, I have mindset coaches, A. B, my rides to work and home is full of praise and worship music. So that's how I start my day, end my day, asking God how to guide my day. And when I'm tired, I just go to sleep. It's kind of that simple. I get tired more easily now. I think after 2 kids, you get more tired, but just don't push yourself so hard. Your body's going to tell you what to do. So make time to take naps. Don't laugh at me, but if you need a nap, go take a nap. If you need a sip of water, go take a sip of water. So paying attention to your body and then paying attention to your mind and really filling yourself up with good music and good people and good environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, said so well, that it's like that self-care and and honoring that, you don't have to be going like a crazy person, doing all the other things that everybody else is doing, trying to keep up with the Joneses, but rather honor yourself, honor what you need first. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy, for taking your time to be with us here today. I hope that you absolutely loved that episode. It's always my intention to bring you high quality, valuable pieces of information, whether it's interviews or step-by-step trainings. And one of the greatest places that we do this is inside of the Win a Pageant Academy. A team of coaches and myself work every single day to help women just like you achieve their dreams. Now, especially in the pageant industry, but I know that God is calling you to so much more, and that your pageant is just a stop along the way to an even greater success. If you see that vision for yourself and you think that we might be able to help you, I would love for you to visit winapageant.com/academy to see all that we can help you with through the Win a Pageant Academy. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me to see if this is a fit for you. We would love to work with you if you are a go-getter with a big vision to achieve something massive in this world. And if you just need somebody to hold your hand and guide you every step of the way, we would love to be that coach for you. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. We would love to welcome you inside the Academy. winapageant.com/academy.